So hello, welcome. Again, it's Paul at Samahita Retreat. Are any of you feeling, oh my God, it's Friday again. The time is flying. So though we're kind of removed from typical active life, it seems to at the same time go fairly quick. So my weeks are being coded or numbered based on Monday and Fridays recordings and sessions. So, but hopefully in that time you're present, you engage in whatever you have to do. Sometimes we put, and I do this myself, put burdens on ourselves, want to get XYZ done, etc. And I definitely have that particular load and burden, but at the same time it's just flow with it. Flow with it without being a dilettante, without being lazy, without being loose, without being too casual. And part of it for me is the reading of some materials, and it's instead of it just being read, get the points right, it's more like read and be in it, especially when it comes to the spiritual and yogic material, which is how I used to enjoy studying it long ago. So anyway, though these weeks are like, whoa, oh my God, it's another Friday, I hope you are richly immersed in the content and the fabric of the week. And you can do that by embracing aspects of practice. So, do you have a routine? And for myself, it's definitely the morning is given to that inner practice with external aids. See, these yogic practices, especially hatha yogic practices. Hatha, everybody's heard of that, but actually it might come from, nobody's confirmed this, gata yoga, body yoga. And that as a powerful aspect to create the inner experience. So we can do these breaths, we can do stuff with the asana, etc. Yet at the same time, because of its strong phenomenal nature, the tangibility of the body, you feel it, it can easily pull you into obsession with that. So, the original intent of yoga, this focus on chitta nirodha, was to take care of these functions, bases that seem to fluctuate in life, the mental process, but then in time, you see that the body is tied up in that mental process, you can't avoid it. And it's actually a good move to regulate, take care of the body, because you might feel better, healthier, stronger, etc. But and that's good. But if that's all it is, technically it's just prayog, it's just body yoga. It's not the original intent, let's put it that way. And that's okay, but it's unfortunate it just leaves you at that level of all that work, all that time, all that effort, and all it is a bit of accomplishment with the body, and the body's going to get old, fade, and perish anyway. So let the approach be, right, I will take care of this, but as I take care of it, body, asanas, breath, doing the kriyas, even that neti stuff, etc., is to ease the burden on my body in this life, but help me get at chitta, see? And a lot of that will come down to where you place your attention, internally oriented. In fact, I'm glad I'm sitting in front of this, because more or less what I'm saying is developed in this scheme as such, that even though you can engage in yogic practices, they're hatha, ultimately they're gatta, gut, body practices. They can leave you externally oriented, and they may not alleviate this mental burden. And though the time will change, the real thing we're looking at is, have I internally shifted? And that's where going internal. So you know, the bodily practices are still of value. They're part of this. As you can see, practice regularly. They're really part of it. They're excellent in what they can achieve. But the quality, which Patanjali highlights under vairagya, quality of how you attend to it. You're not obsessed with the body and the perfection of these practices, etc. That they're not the be-all and end-all. But you take a very pragmatic approach and you see, they are of help, value, I enjoy them. And what's more so is they have the capacity to kind of bring up an inner feeling, right? So that's the sincerity increasing as I go in. Okay, and then ultimately there is some experience. To compound that, to do that regularly, that is the process. So use the body, take care of the body, but cultivate the inner attitude, the internal. And then time passes, things change, more people are out there, less people are out there. Economic up, economic slow down. I respond, I have to do things, but I have a process I engage in that is very easy to be stuck external, but and hopefully some of the tips from these practices and meditations we do are helping you draw the attention internal, draw it internal. So if we go now to the breath, you are doing your best to be with, initially it might be the flow of the breath, then as the pauses come within the breath, you're with those pauses, and eventually those pauses sort of dominate and the mind has become quiet. And you will, all of us are capable of getting flashes, see, momentary flashes. And that's what the Yoga Sutra is referring to when it talks about the bhavana of samadhi. It's like you get an experience that's not any of this, that's not phenomena, right? I mean, you might have an experience of, my body feels really good, or I'm happy, etc. So those are positive, but they're still phenomenal experiences, whether they're subtle or gross. And let's say they're kind of part and parcel and necessary along the way. But eventually, you experience something that's none of that. And maybe it happens for a second. Maybe there's a journey into it and a journey out of it. You would kind of call that as, whoa, I was in some, that's a bit blissful. See? So, either way, it still involves, whether the weeks are flying by or going slow, might depend on our load and what is on our plate and what we're dealing with and the burdens, etc. But still have a routine. Morning is usually best, okay? Mind is fresh. You haven't had to deal with many of the other aspects of life, so bring it in. In fact, in my book, the only thing that could really warrant a priority over that was the needs of young children. Nothing else. There's no message that is that important. If there is, it comes once or twice in a lifetime, So you just, have that little bit of understanding, focus for the routine, discipline, so that it's like, okay, this is my morning, and I can do this, I get into this. Now I'm going to do it with feeling. Okay, whatever it is, Even as you're doing the asana, you're aware of the sensation, the feeling, what it starts to cultivate inside. Okay, if it's a routine, you're banging out, knocking out, and powering the body, then it'll always keep you external. No matter if you do 3 hours or 30 minutes. So, have your routine, embrace it, be with it. It's just like maybe you get 20 minutes to an hour every day to be with the most favorite person you would like to be with, okay? Whoever they are, and for whatever reason. And do you do it by thinking about other things, talking about other things, wasting their time, complaining, or do you really enjoy their company? See? And so that's what's happening as you commit to a particular time for practice. And it's an inner practice, even if it's using the body, using the breath, cleansing, etc. You're putting in good time to really enjoy the company you're with, which is not you based on phenomena, okay? Though you're using that, it is essentially the non-phenomenal you, which is the same as the non-phenomenal me and everybody else. So, if that helps motivate, your morning practice time is a bit of time to spend with the most interesting, loving, lovable entity you could be with, which is that which is behind what you call you, okay? And if you want to name it, you name it, and that's why people got into religious names and deities and all that, etc., or the phrase of the beloved, etc., etc. So, with that, let's do a little bit of practice, okay? And then some questions. Have a nice seat. You let the eyes close, that's nice. If it's difficult, they just kind of cast down, look down, but nice. You're in between worlds. Become aware of the breath at your nose. Relax that mouth, jaw, tongue. Ah. Now jumping on your next exhale, draw it out a little bit longer. We're going to a bi-ratio. Now inhale through both nostrils, 1, 2, 3. Of course there's a natural mini pause, exhaling, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Into a tri-ratio. Inhale through the nose, 1, 2, 3. Let's pause, 1, 2, 3, then exhale out for double, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. One more like that, inhale through the nose, 1, 2, 3, pause, 1, 2, 3, double exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale, we'll go into quad ratio, 2, 3, pause, 1, 2, 3, double exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Pause it out, 1, 2, 3. Hold on the pelvic floor. Inhale through the nose, 1, 2, 3. Pause, 1, 2, 3. Double exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Pause it out, 1, 2, 3. Ready to inhale without me counting. Pause. Double exhale. Pause out. Inhale nose. Pause. Double exhale. Pause out. Inhale nose. Pause. Double exhale. Pause out. Inhale, nose. Pause. Double exhale. Pause out. Inhale. Pause. Double exhale. Pause out. Inhale, nose. Pause. Double exhale. Pause out. Inhale, nose. Pause. Double exhale. Pause out. Inhale, nose. Pause. Double exhale. Pause out. One more round together. Inhale, nose. Pause. Double exhale. Pause out. Now let there be a free inhale. Let it soften. We're going to do 10 pumps. Longer the exhale. Now, if you're able to, you hold the nose, thumb and ring finger, tilt the chin. Now we're going to inhale for 8. Pause, close the nose, tilt the chin, and we're going to hold it longer. Head up, exhale. That may have challenged you, I'll refer to in a moment. Exhale. Going to do one more of those. If it's too much, just be passive with your breath. Take a little inhale. We go again. Ten. Make it a long exhale now. 10. I'm going to hold for 20. Lift your head, inhale for 10. Close, hold, tilt, 20. Head up, slowly exhaling. You able to make it to 20 on the exhale? Reaching the end of the exhale. Now let everything go except the pelvic floor, mildly there, and its natural breath. Though it might have applied a little bit of stress, brought you into this moment, tuned greater into a certain breath and body consciousness. One that now, as we sit here, more calmly, silently, we can let go of. If I'm sitting here caught up and obsessed with the body, then my practices have been less than effective. If I sit here now and I drop that, so I'd like you to tune into the space between breaths. At either end, between the inhale and exhale, making no effort, and then between the exhale and inhale, making no effort. Now it's the opposite of what we just did. We're still attending to what we are at, what we're involved in. In this case, it's non-activity. In this case, it's reduction in the body. And we aim to keep the breath low. We aim to tap into more of the subtle form. So you go to the pelvic floor, spin in a circle. If you want to call that root chakra, that's fine, but just be down there. Feel literally, I mean it, feel the pelvic floor. It's like feeling the inside of the perineal tissue below the pelvic diaphragm muscles. That's specific. Then you spiral up and you're the other side of the pelvic diaphragm, your thicker set of muscles that are behind the pubic bone, and spin there. In your mouth. Can you keep your attention tuned in? Now spiral up, stay with it, to the behind the navel. Spin there, be with it. Move on up to the heart area. Spin there. Feel the heart expanding as you spin there. Spiral on up to the throat area. Stay close to the throat. Circle spin there. Pass up through the spacious mouth, find the soft palate, just above it, just above that. Between the front corner of the ears, between the eyes, base of the brain, maybe hit pituitary. It's the back of the nose, see? Edge of nose, between mid-ears, between the eyes. Phenomenal zone, literally. Go just above it, and you're at the floor of the brain, hypothalamus. Stay there. Stay there with the breath minimal. Be in. We've forgotten about the body. Be in. And you go up to the crown of the head, go up, go out, loop around. So you loop, you come back through the pelvic floor, you come up through each center, and you follow that loop. In a way, harmonizing each one, sort of bringing the energy in. And then I'll leave it to you where you want it to settle. Maybe in the pelvic floor, maybe in the navel, maybe in the heart, maybe in the throat, maybe in the floor of the brain here. Just be with that. Have an inner feeling, and you attend to Adhyatma Yoga, the inner path and process of this yoga. Now that was 15 minutes. Come back to the body. Sometimes it helps to maybe rub the hands, see, like this. Rub the hands. You don't have to go crazy with it. You know, you build a bit of heat in the palms. You can just put them over the eyes. You look into what I always like is nothing, see? Then you best facial you'll get, your own powered up palms over your face, across your body. And be in a comfortable seat. Of course you can keep your eyes closed if you like, or you can let them open. I have to open mine because I'm on here, though they were deep. It's nice to have this period of time with you, virtually in a way, but it seems quite intimate and close because thanks to technology, I'm able to just speak very quiet, soft, calm, and I hope that comes across. And it's really just a reflection of, I'm very calm, internal, let's share that via methods, practices. Now, as I said, that was only 15 minutes, But because we record it as well and we put it up online, you can always return to that 15-minute practice anytime. And based on what I was saying before it, making a routine, a regularity, not just a body, gata-based practice, but practice that brings you internal. Okay? Now, just because I've led one here and I can claim, but it was internal, that it may or may not be the case for you. Okay? Because chitta is by nature unbalanced. Okay? How much can depend on certain inputs, time, situation in life, day, history, personal history, variety of things, what you associate with, etc. But even though this world is a bit of a mess, things going on, etc., etc., we can be of value to this world by getting more centered, more sattvic chitta. Okay? There's always be some other activity going on, right? But more sattvic, so we see things clearly. And then, in our each individual way, hopefully, we do what needs to be done. We can take care of that which is in front of us, okay? And that's the point of having a routine and investing in a certain amount of practice time. And yes, your body, both physiologically and anatomically, can benefit from that. But that is not the priority or focus or purpose, but it's definitely a good outcome. So, let's go to some of the questions. I have to do this, They gave me this big microphone to go, what's his name? Daniel wanted to sing Tom Jones, but I can't do that. Oh no, I'm alone. There's nobody here. Okay. Anyway, to the questions. Hello. Barry White, that was it. That's what I wanted to sing. Okay, some are from last week, some are from this week. Maybe talk a bit about the role and place of mantra in practice, especially related to the breath. Well, actually the early path of pranayama, before it maybe was even officially recognized as that, were more these rituals, inhale and mantra. So it was actually, the ritual was about the chant and the mantra, and it was used on the breath. Later, the breath were timed to mantra, and typically Gayatri. And here with a lot of groups, we definitely learn Gayatri or Gayatri and Trambak. And I like Gayatri because it's basically it's just saying make my brain work better. It's not saying believe in this or that God or blah blah blah. Though you can associate it with that if that's where your predilection is, but really it's just okay. Here I am with the breath, and there's a well composed few lines that are. You could say they're in a particular intonation, particular form, well structured, much like any molecular compound we create today in science. Similarly, here it is, a syllabic, sound-based compound, which to get benefit from does not need or verbal expression. It just needs expression, which most powerful, as they say, is mental. And so, with some of your easier pranayamas, let's say, if you were doing Shitali or something, you could just do it timed on Gayatri. And if it's hard to do it on one Gayatri inhale, two Gayatris exhale, you could have, if you drop the Om Bhuva after the initial one, it's basically 3 lines. You could inhale for the first line, Om Tat Sat Vitur Varenyam, and then exhale for the other 2 lines. Simple. So that's a way to kind of combine the value of mantra with regulated breath work. And doing that with Om actually is a little bit tedious. I think Om on the breath, that's where the value of Om is. But just Om, 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 to count things is less than effective. Let's put it that way. So and again, Gayatri is just a suggestion, okay? But it is packed with power, that's for sure, And it basically says, this brain is complex, it's not easy for us to understand. Though I look to the sun and ask for the sun's blessing, benefit, shine your light on me, it's really, please awaken good functioning of this complex brain. And as human beings, very complex cerebrum and all this here. And this is where all our human difficulties arise. Anxieties, depression, lack of emotional regulation, and so on. See? So, now if you want to do mantra as a separate practice, that's fine. That's up to you. But I would prioritize the breath for sure. Referred to this recently. You'll see as these named approaches came up. Hatha, Hatha being influenced a lot by Tantra, maybe not fully given birth by Tantra, but influenced a lot by it. What you have pretty much to kind of put that in a group of four, the tantric schools would put it in a group of four. Then you had mantra, you had hatha, you had laya, okay, and then raja, right? And so when you get down to the bare bones of it, many of the later schools in the last 800 years or so didn't get too much into mantra unless you had a sort of a inner calling, religious spirit, etc. Like Hatha Pradipika doesn't bother with it. Some of the others do, but they're kind of telling you, pick your deity, and some are very Vishnu-oriented, etc. And then maybe that's not your thing at all, and doesn't need to be, And you could have Om Mani Padme Om, you could have, a Christian one, you could have none of that, see? But if it touches you and impacts you, like the thought of Mother Mary or Jesus or Krishna or Buddha or the Prophet or whatever it is, if those things elevate you, or maybe it's just the aspects of nature. And in some ways Gayatri is about the aspects of nature, sun, this human body, function of the brain. So it of course can be combined with the breath, but if you were trying to pick one or the other, focus on the breath for sure, because it has the double whammy of physiological and psychological value, massively so. And if you're doing in the way we described earlier, for that inner feeling, and hence that's this sort of increase in the psychological side, and that makes it really a very powerful yogic practice. Okay? So, I hope that helps answer. So just read it and let's see. Some scientists of heart breath, technically heart math I think you're referring to, recommend inhale on 5 tenths and exhale on 6 tenths. Maybe that means seconds. To be coherent between heart and brain and be in the same tune of the earth. Have you heard of that? Yes, I've heard of that. I mean the heart math, which is a good organization and product that you can get into. Again, it comes back to what do you want to use working with the breath for? If it's just a particular coherence level, physiology, okay, then do that. But that's what they've mainly tested. Many of the other things, even what I did with you 15 minutes ago, quad ratio breath, is not properly tested under that setting. But it has been tested, you could say, in yogic settings for a long time. and you can gain beyond coherence, let's put it that way. What it basically means is there's a lot of work still to be done. Just like they've taken particular molecules and really broken them down and found out very subtle differences and able to come up with different compounds and drugs and different uses of things. The breath is kind of in its infancy. It's like, well, just breathe 1-1 or go 1-1-1-1. You know, which is an approach, for sure. But it's not the only approach. You know, there was one study that involved breath with either doing some part of a Christian prayer or doing the Buddhist chant, Om Mani Padme Om. Okay, and then that gets down to 5.5 breaths a minute. So people jump on that and say, okay, that's what we should do. And you can, but pranayama does not limit itself to that at all. It goes well beyond that. And there are tremendous values and benefits in doing that. If I'm with an average audience who maybe have no awareness of their breath, sitting there maybe with the mouth open, or, you know, experience your average anxieties, etc., then I might take them and start, you know, regulating the breath and making the exhale just a little bit longer, okay? So in that base breath correction therapeutic sense, I think absolutely it is value. You get that somewhat regulated, then it's time to move on. There's way more you can do, and you can couple that breath in a variety of ways with a deeper inner experience. And then it becomes quite an involved path. Otherwise, you're kind of it becomes so basic. Okay, inhale for 5, exhale for 6. That it's not appealing enough to pull you in for long enough. I can sit and work, and that could be my natural rhythm of breath. See? Okay, that's fine. That's good. You're in a coherent state, you're clear, and so on. But there's way more to it, and there's a lot more work to be done in this field. And I look forward to being part of that workhorse. I hope that helps. Ansel, you? So, somebody watched the Netty video, and that's great, because nasal irrigation. Neti pot. If you're not clear, you haven't done it before, it's better to watch it, get clear, and then once you're doing it, okay, that stuff flows, literally. So this person was informed that having a cold or flu symptoms, Sutra Neti would be a better option than Jala Neti because water could create more infections. Is this true? I don't think it's true. At all, actually. I'd be curious where they get that information from. Trust me, there's very few, if any, studies done on actually neti. But pediatricians recommend nasal irrigation for children, you know. My kids, when they were very small, and kids get snotty, mucousy, they get infections, they get colds, and you can't just do neti with them. Nor would they. So what you have is what you get in a drugstore, pharmacy, chemist shop. You have the little ball pumps that have the saline solution in it, pump through, and you're doing that when the kid has an infection, mucousy, snotty, etc. Right? You're definitely not putting a sutra through their nose. So if the child is typically under 5, has more mucus, irritation, snottiness, and that works to help clear it, it sort of negates that advice. And if what I advise is, if you have a cold or a flu symptoms, that you increase the temperature somewhat. I think we put it in the video anyway. You increase the temperature of the water, still with salt, same volume of salt. And I mean, I haven't had mucousy, sinusy, cold flu stuff in a long time. The last time I did, I did water neti, jala neti, and the temperature up, which is something I'd learned from my own teacher anyway. And that is very deeply cleansing. It really helps clear out the sinuses and remove kind of that mucus mess. So both that and the pediatrician approach would negate. Having said that, if of course you feel very blocked and stuffy, I mean, I would recommend learning the sutra anyway. And personally, I actually do it every day. A nice big fat sutra. Okay, but I graduated to that. And it was weird at first. And I was blocked on my right nostril for 3 months. Couldn't get it through. Left nostril was very sensitive. I would sneeze. But I kept up every day. I can still remember this, about 23 years ago now. And living in a small apartment in New York City over the kitchen sink. His bathroom sink was too small to even do it on, and just really trying to work this. But eventually it went through to the point that now, I mean, you could say my nasal passageways adapted and opened up and changed my breathing experience. That obviously before that, even though I was doing asana and all this, it was limited. So Sutra Neti is fantastic, and it may help you not get the infection, cold, flu quite effectively. The way it kind of stimulates and charges the nasal mucosa. But again, there's no study on that. But there is a plenty of experiential study, yogic understanding, and I practically haven't missed a day of it in all those 20 plus years. So I definitely believe in it. Other people prefer the water one. I'll only do the water one if I had that congestion, if there was a cold flu, or if I was in more of a polluted environment. So, somebody else actually asked if you're doing the neti nasal irrigation with inflamed sinuses. So then I wouldn't do the sutra, okay, because the inflammation is high, but I would do the water one, okay? Water with just the right amount of salt, the right temperature, slightly milder, you know, less than warm on the inflamed nasal passage, whichever part is inflamed, but sending that through gently will actually be beneficial. You know, it's been shown to be. Yeah, so in other words, there's very few cases where I feel it's not a good idea to do. But let some of those cases come up when we can refer to it. How can one deal with a traumatic experience that visually comes up during meditation? Okay, so this is a big one. It's actually a really good question. So let's take two scenarios. And I've just read the question, but obviously this is a question been asked me before. It's been something I haven't had to deal with. And I think you can't avoid one point in your life experiencing a traumatic experience coming up in a internally oriented practice. And of course it's tricky if that trauma has a strong impact on you. And it might be from a recent event, meaning somewhere in the last 5 to 10 years, you know. But sometimes it's an event that comes up that you didn't have the actual memory of. This I would consider as very beneficial. And it's easier to talk about that one than the first one, because if you have had a trauma, it might have been some physical abuse, something harsh on you, and the violation of that on your body and psyche, and you have a memory of it, and it increases fear in you, and then you go to sit, and then that comes up. That's difficult. And that is where the breath practices are actually a bit more helpful, because your focus needs to be on the breath, and in this case it needs to be on the calm, smooth breath. And it's that calm, smooth breath that keeps you away from an anxious state. Now, of course, there are psychiatric approaches that some are experimenting in certain psychedelics at a particular dose to be administered to. But then you're in a very structured, controlled environment with somebody observing, putting this in to get you to dissociate from the event. Otherwise, there's pharmaceutical drugs on the market, and somebody prescribes that. But let's say we're not in a controlled experiment setting. We're not taking some drug. So now we're dealing with this ourselves, raw. First approach is tune into your breath. You must tune into your breath, soft breath. Now, the memory of that is there. Maybe it's gone a little bit back, it's come back to the front. Tune into your breath. Be with your breath. Okay? So you need to have that. You could say that so much of our breath practice has this in training, so when some of these traumatic things come up, we are able to access the ability to tap into the breath. And I say breath in a very soft, passive way, because it's that soft breathing that is the opposite of anxious style breathing. Now, when you can do that and you can realize that you're okay, you're safe, so you're staying in more of a parasympathetic tone, even though there was a bit of a shock, a bit of an urge, but if you stay in a parasympathetic world, then technically you're at the more recently evolved aspect of the vagus network. And when you're not there, you either go into stress sympathetic mode, which is when the breathing would increase, heart rate would go up, and you start associating more with that trauma. And then you can even go into more of a frozen state, which is the very primal vagal response, actually. And there's nothing parasympathetic about it, not even sympathetic. It's a very primal response of, frozen, see? So you can stay away from those two responses by staying with the breath, staying in a parasympathetic tone, and then instead of associating with that trauma, if you're able to see that I'm safe, I am okay, and with my breath, that is a memory coming, that is not part of me or my life now. And when you feel safer and stronger, you will be able to take that apart. You will be able to dissect it, which is really important. And that's why when I do the Thanks, Forgive, Help practice, the forgiveness part is huge. It'll take you years to unwrap and undo and go through, but you'll start to notice the change in your heart, behavior, inner presence, etc. So this this associating or non-associating with it, okay, is initial, almost like a physiological to psychological awareness, and then through a particular level of experience and strength, which is what, as I was saying, goes on the forgiveness, you might be able to dissect and eliminate its power, its force. Now, if you're in a practice and a trauma comes up that you didn't know about, you didn't have any memory of, this is actually very positive. This is clearing. It's a little tough at that moment, but it is part of a deep subconscious aspect that's rising. And in fact, when we talk about spiritual progress and deeper meditation and eventually a kind of a strong inner experience, it's these things that are actually blocking it. These are psychological weights that kind of put pressure on and suppress our functioning. And in some ways, it suppresses our overall behavior. We're not as free. There's a slight inhibition. Even if I'm a very extroverted, outgoing, friendly person, there are some things not dealt with yet, see? So the continuation of practice at some point is going to bring up some different things, okay? If they are not recalled. They are not in deep memory. They're not in conscious memory as such. They're coming from the subconscious. Then again, don't associate with it. See it for what it is. It's not like you have to name it or know everything about it, etc. But rather that you allow it to come up. Allow it to come up, and still same approach. You know where you are and that you are safe. Okay, safe, clear, comfortable. Because here you are with the breath, with the limited, simple breath inside. That is not me. Maybe a past event, maybe a new memory, but it's not me. Anyway, I hope that helps. That's a big question. None of it is easy, but it's very important. And it's been able to associate more with the soft breath and feel safe, and make sure that you're not associating with the event. That's more or less what it comes down to. But the actually doing that in practice is the tricky part. So, I will stop there. I hope that is of help. Have a nice day. Talk to you soon. Keep on practicing.